Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have Atlantic Link here to show a very special presentation. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce myself, Kayla from the Acelab team. We have Giorgio and Robert from the Atlantic Link team. And I'm going to quickly show everyone where you can find more information about Atlantic Link on the Acelab page. So here we are in Acelab. So typically when you first log into Acelab, you'll be brought to our homepage. If you'd like to find any specific manufacturer, all you have to do is go to the search bar up here, type in their name, in this case, Atlantic Link, and it'll take you to their brand page. So here you have some more information about them. We've got some graphics, some products, and anything for you to scroll through. Definitely encourage you to click into any of these products if you'd like, save it to your firm library. Just learn a little bit more in general after today's presentation. We've also got some great inspiration photos here at the bottom. So I will send you all a link to Atlantic Link's brand page for you to check out sometime soon. And you've got some more information at the bottom here as well. So a couple other things to go over before we get started. You have a Q&A button at the bottom of the page. Feel free to click that, drop any questions in the chat. Throughout the presentation, at the end, we'll have some time to go through some of those questions and we'll read them out loud and have them answered live. We will also have a poll at some point during the presentation. Feel free to fill that out. And then we also have a post-webinar survey. So I believe that's everything from my end. Are we ready to get started?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, take it away.
All right, so let me just find the sharing button here. Okay, and this should be my screen. Okay, let me see if you can see it correctly.
Yep, I can see it.
Beautiful. I actually have multiple screens, so I'm not really sure exactly what you're seeing, but in my idea, yes, you've seen everything then.
Yes, I can see the Atlantic Link presentation.
1 second, I need to try to put into the next screen up. Oh, I have Zoom blocked. Not the best. Okay, now I took over. And let's use screen number 2. Let's make it the presenter mode. So I should be ready to go in just 1 sec.
Yeah, I'm no longer seeing the presentation.
Yeah, I know. Give me 1 second.
Okay, no worries. In the meantime, everyone, I am dropping that link to their brand page. Feel free to go ahead and take this time to go to the Acelab page and check out Atlantic Link's page to learn a little bit more before we get started.
All right, I should be good to go. So Atlantic Link is a company I founded about 25 years ago. I was coming out of Italy as a sales manager for a ceramic company, and I decided I see an opportunity for presenting a product in the United States market. My name is Giorgio Valentini, and I was born and raised in Italy and moved over here in 2000. The purpose of Atlantic Link was mainly to represent company out of Italy and promote them in the US market. At the beginning was primarily I would say ceramic and flooring materials. And when the product in ceramic became more technical, it was no longer that profitable, let's put it this way, to sell it through the typical distribution networks. At least it wasn't working for me. And I started presenting and promoting through architects. And being a junior architect before university, I found passion back into architectures, and from then on basically dragged me into more and more architectural products. The team from myself now expanded to a couple of partners and a few collaborators. And the idea is basically that we are all passionate people, pretty much into the design and architectural industries, that we want to promote what is good for the project and enjoy what we are working with. Since we are on Acelab, I would say that I'm a mini version, or Atlantic Link is a mini version of Acelab, because like Acelab is pulling manufacturer and suppliers from a different kind of product portfolio. That's actually what I did. So starting from the flooring and wall coverings, we expanded to window, we expanded to doors and to faucet, and my motto is pretty much whatever sticks, we'll do it. So we don't get into the chairs and table yet, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna get pulled into that pretty soon. This is a brief portfolio. We try to stick to one, max two manufacturer per product category because, again, we want to be faithful to them. And the purpose is I cannot be 100% knowledgeable on everything that we need to cover. But I think I have good enough knowledge to direct you to the proper suppliers or to source in case those are not available. What I noticed in my career is that Italy in particular, but Europe in general, and the US have a very different approach in the construction and design industry. Italy is much more diversified. If you go into a showroom in Italy, you're shopping for renovation on your bathrooms, you will find pretty much everything from the lighting to the sanitary ware to the wood to versus over here is more diversified by trade. So ceramic and stone retailers or distributors are catering only to the specific trade versus the lighting designers and the lighting manufacturer are going to a lighting showrooms and so forth. Definitely there's a way that works, but I felt that a designer need to have a more of an overall and holistic consultation. And that's where I hope, and so far I've been successful in the few projects that I developed, to get basically a package that will complement in a proper way without stepping on one product against the other, but more one product next to the other. The typical approach that we take when I'm exposed to a new opportunity, to a new project, or to a new contact. First of all, of course, is to establish the contact. That can be networking, referrals, trade shows, or situation like Acelab. Then the first discussion, typically I'm getting requests, send me the samples. And I tend to hold on that because I can't send you the sample if I don't know what you really need and what you're really going to use to. And yes, we are aware there are NDA. We cannot really tell me all the details, but I hope you can tell me. Actually, no, I hope I need you to tell me whether you're doing a higher end residential or you're doing a towers or a multifamily projects. Because even if the same product, stone or window, the window for I don't know, a villa on the Hamptons, most likely is not the same window that you're going to put on 100-story towers. So there are budgets issue that within the same category we need to evaluate. There are production capacity issues. The manufacturer that can produce millions of square feet is not the same manufacturer that can be a craftsmanship doing higher end residential. And where is the location? What are the climate situation? Whether it's in a very cold climate, there's a lot of wind effort, there's water. So not all in game going into stone in particular, there are so many different categories, and we need to know, at the beginning, in particular, if the stone is suitable for your job. And we notice that even where there are some stone consultant, not always are aware, or they are overkilling the job, meaning overkilling the features, meaning that they want to have performance that you probably don't really need to go to that extreme, or you can do with something a little bit less. So that's how we go to the budgeting and achieving the goals. When that has been identified, we'll try to provide the details and all the support material to create the orders and creating a budget. And if everything goes to plan, we basically, deliver the material according to your designing need. These are some of the project reference. I know it's not a lot, but considering that we switched from distribution to direct project, and many of our projects are actually also coming through a network of distributors, I don't have access to all of them. But so far I successfully closed 40 public spaces and 21 residential, and just a couple that are actually here in our backyards. And one, the most prestigious one, for example, is the Aston Martin showroom, which opened a year ago in between actually at the corner of Park Avenue and 57th. If you go there, you will see a walnut floor, wood floor, and a lot of stone. The stone is actually even on this table here, and we even embedded the QR scanning. I don't even know how to describe it. There's a place here for hiding the computers, and basically the Aston Martin customer can go there and select the sample that you see in these shelves and have it projected on the screen so that you really customize the car the way you want. And that is exactly what we want to do with your architecture. We want to customize it the way you want. Waldorf Astoria is a project that is about to be completed. You see that the pictures that I have are still work in progress and are primarily pavers. We'll have more details about that throughout the presentation, which is not related to this job because I haven't finished it yet, but it's a very similar job in Boston, which was Google offices in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And then here I have a showroom where we put a very innovative flooring systems, wood flooring here. What is very innovative about that is being engineered is without the tang and groove, which is always available, but we have a clip system that we can replace planks in the middle of the floor, basically in 20 seconds with a suction cup. So if the planks get very damaged, there's a way to replace it without disrupting the work. So these are just example of the specialty that I'm trying to find in Europe and bring into the US market. And here is the origins where I started. Is a Google map. I actually just took a screenshot yesterday just to give you some kind of a reference. And you can see that's where I'm based in the Emilia region, where all the ceramic company are pretty much located. And all the other place mark are my other factories. And you can, just to give you some references, the further one is actually here on the border with Switzerland, which is the faucet manufacturer. And the other one is over here, which is the wood manufacturer. Those are about 3-hour distance. So we can go to Genova port in 2 hours. We can go to the Adriatic in 2 hours. And this is another convenience of working with a lot of proximity, the manufacturer to the logistic. So let me just keep going and get into the core. Because I have so many products, so many manufacturers to present, I don't think it makes sense to cramp everything into one presentation. So I decided to split it in two major portfolio, and I picked Grassi Pietre as one of the actually main manufacturer for me in stone. And I gave you an overview of the valley near the Berici Hills, where the Grassi quarries and the fabrication is located. On the right, you see an overview of the block yards, and underneath a little details of the block. These are screenshots I took from a video that I would like to show you. And this is the overall view of the factory. You see the block, the slab yard, here in these sections. These are all energy, how do you call it? Anyway, solar panels. Sorry, I couldn't get that together with the one on the ceiling. These water tanks, barely visible for recycling because fabrication of stone require a lot of energy and a lot of water. So we try to recycle as much as possible, whatever we can. And let me run a quick 3-minute video. I don't know if you get the audio here, but I will just give you an overview of what you're about to look. So here are slabs and the entrance to a quarry. And now we are inside the fabrication facility. We're jumping back to the quarry. This is an open, a tunnel quarry. And these are the fabricator and some of the feature pieces that we did.
Since 1870, generation our hand process
See the image jumping from one place to the other, just to give you an idea of the production, but we're going to get into the details of what are the different phases.
Traditions of a tradition today, and that is transformed by day. We are like stone.
This is the block yard, the dry layout, manual finishing, quarry entrance. This lab yard, actually the block yard, we saw it in the still photo. And this is how the blocks are being turned into slabs. That's what I meant. There's a lot of water consumption here.
Thanks to the technique of bench cutters, and the polishing machine.
This polishing machine, on top of polishing, is also scanning the slabs. So we have digital images of every single slab, and I'll go more in detail on that later.
Our details. From the joints to the design, from the surveys on realization of the houses and houses.
We work with all type of stone and marbles, but of course we have our quarry that are providing most of the material that we prefer to work, and we have more accessibility. But even that we'll discuss more once this is over.
Great architect of the past.
Okay, so going back to the PowerPoint presentation, this is an example of a tunnel quarry. You saw the entrance in the video, and you see that we are storing the blocks in here, and this is where we are getting the blocks. The cuts that you see on the ceilings are just marks left from the saw blades, and of course we need to leave some pillars here because otherwise the old mountain is going to fall on top of us. In the quarry, we actually also have visits, and we usually have tours. We turn actually one quarry that is pretty much finished, we turned into a museum. And that's where we are inviting architect, designer, and everybody that want to know more about, about stone and how we use it to visit the quarry. We have this tour 3-4 times a year, and this is an example of how hard the stone is. We let the visitors try to chisel their name into the stone. And I try myself because it's something that you can't resist, and I can barely mention the letter G. And that despite we consider this a relatively soft stone, and that's why it's very suitable to do a lot of cut to size and fabrications. Contrary, for example, to granite, which is very hard to work with. So anything, and that's what I meant at the beginning, has its own pros and cons. Not necessarily the hardest is the best or the softest is the weakest. And again, everything is relative. When we're talking about soft here, we are talking still about stone. This is the machinery where we are cutting the mountain, and you can see here the square. Hopefully you can see my mouse. You can see the square or the rectangle, I should call them, where the blade is actually going through the wall and slicing into blocks. But how can you slice the bottom part, which is on the other side? Of course, you gotta find a way to break it. And if you remember in the video, the screen where there was somebody hammering some pins was just try to break the blocks out of the mountain. For those of you interested, I can even show you how to get the block from the ceiling, which is a very interesting way of manufacturing. But going into architecture, the stone that we are quarrying is the Vicenza stone, which has a lot of history, especially thanks to Palladio. And there's a lot of villa in our regions that have been designed and built by Palladio, and villa that we actually now restoring, because a great benefit that a lot of people tend to forget, and actually sometimes stone tend to have a bad reputation, especially in combination with a newer man-made material that seems to be impervious to everything, don't stain, don't need any maintenance. Well, I mean, everything needs a little bit of maintenance, but the advantage of stone is that it can actually be repaired, it could be restored, and it doesn't end. Again, since my background is more in the ceramic, but it applies to many other man-made products, those are like fashion. So today we have a collection and colors, and you might not find them available 10 or even 3 years down the road. So if you need to have a repair, if you don't have enough attic stock, you are kind of out of luck. Here is a project, probably the oldest project we can trace, which are the Longwood Garden in Philadelphia. The whole city, they are 110 years old. And basically the whole community around our quarries were basically quarrying back then, because of course they didn't have the type of machinery that we have now to extract all the material needed for this garden. And for those of you in the area, it's really worth visiting. It's a great outdoor experience. Here is the matrix of the main stone, the stone that we quarry from our quarries. And you can see it's basically a matrix where I put in the row the different colors. And being limestone, you will see that it's very consistent, and you have on the columns the different textures. And that's because being a limestone has a lot of shell pieces that allow the fabrication to create some effect that you are seeing better in these pictures. So here is basically a little blowout of the details. And if you can see this shell here, is because when we process the finish of the surface with mechanical, most likely this finishes either with saw blades and sandblasting, or actually water jet. The shellfish, being harder than the stone, is the one that remain. Not all the color have the same content of shellfish, so not all the color can achieve the same finishes. That's why in that matrix, not all the square were filled, but again, I think if we can't achieve it because nature doesn't allow it, we can probably do it in a different way and find a way to work with you. Here, I'm presenting actually more than just telling you the details of every single product and the technical characteristics, which is a bunch of numbers that probably don't interest anybody at this time. It's more the process that we are using when we are working on the project. And that applies to stone, but applies, you will see it in the window, is very similar and applies pretty much to all type of product. And that's what I meant, the difference between the American system and the Italians or the European. The American tend to have mass productions and produce 3, 4 different kinds of items in bulk quantity, and you basically have to work and live with what you have. Us, on the other hand, we are more on the craftsmanship side. So to me, producing a 12 by 12 or producing a 13 by 47 or producing is whatever sizes you need, even an hexagon shape, I have no problems. So we call it 3 different ways of working. The first scenario is the one that you're probably most familiar with, and that's the one that I've been living with for most of my professional life. I was basically selling slabs and tiles to different importers. And if you go, I live here in New York City area, and around Manhattan, you find a lot of slab yard where, most likely those of you that are in this area are going there with the fabricators or with the client to select and sign the slabs and decided how to cut it. Well, that's a very good approach. And this is basically how the slabs are being fabricated, are being processed, and are being shipped. Once you go there, you select, and the fabricator is going to pick it up from you, is going to cut them from you, and most likely is going to install them for you. And the end result is, in this case, I showcased a retail store that was finished with a local fabricator here using our material. And of course, the job comes out pretty well. But we prefer to approach with this second scenario. And again, not one is better than the other. Each one has its own pros and cons. The pros of the first scenario is giving you a lot of flexibility at the very end. And with the material that you have available, you can select the slab today and have the fabricator install it tomorrow. Our approach does not allow you to have that speed of time in installation because the material, of course, is still in Italy. But if we plan ahead of time, and that's why I'm trying to reach architect in the early stage of the project, is give me your drawing, show me what you want to achieve, let me work on that. And that's a great example that starting from the drawings, we know the wall dimension and we know what you want to do with the wall. We know you want to put a mirror. We know there's going to be a sink here. We are going to split these because, of course, we probably cannot make this height in a single slab or it's too expensive. Sometimes are technical limitations, some other times are budget limitations. That's why the 2 discussions are important. But there's always a way to find it that makes it good. So in this case, we actually split this first section in equal part, and the mirror happened to match perfectly where the seams is, and the other seams is where the sinks is going to land. This will be the cut sheet once we approved everything, and this is the same sheet that will go into the packing list and get shipped to the installer. Here is another project, and again, it's called Galleria Elena, and seeing the names in Italian, so most likely it's a project in Italy, but doesn't really matter where the project is located. The point is, we need to get the dimension, and we can even take a survey, or even better, if we can use your CAD drawings. And from that, without any expense, because if we are using non-existing drawings, it's just a matter of plugging in the dimension of the slabs and figuring out how to recreate what we need to do. So this was the floor and this is the wall. And we did the same approach. So we cut the marks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. And once we go into the cutting side, we take the slab and we achieve this 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see that this is the development of the whole wall, all 4 walls in that room And you see down here the development of the floor. So you had here the shower pan, and you have the different slabs or tile over here. Doing this, we achieve accurate dimension. The same dimension are exactly detailed in this spec sheet that you saw at the beginning, where we even say which mark it is, how many pieces of the specific mark, because many times there are multiple pieces, what are the dimension in length, width, thickness, and what is the weight, because an installer have to pick them up and put it in position. So we need all of this information. And once we get to the packet list, we even tell you in which crate the installer can find that specific piece. An additional is the dry lay, because many times you want to make sure that what you need is working not only in paper, but actually in practice. So we lay every single piece out, and this is typically where the installer can to inspect. And I can guarantee you that it's much cheaper have you fly to Italy for a couple of days. Maybe just take the weekend in Venice, since we are only half an hour from that, and maybe come back on a Monday. If there's some screw up that we need to fix, it gives us the weekend to fix that. And rather than having the material shipped over here and finding out that something is broken or something is not working the way it's supposed to be working. This is the nesting situation. So in order to achieve the pieces that you saw in the previous slide, we need to start from the slabs. And I hope you picked in the video when I mentioned that polishing machine is actually scanning every single slab. So we have a digital image of every slab that you're selecting. So the same approach you are doing physically with your fabricator, with your customer in the slab yard, where you're selecting every single slab and you sign them, we can do it digitally. You don't move from your office. We are over there in Italy or wherever we need to be. I stay here in New York, and you select the slab, and after that is selected, we punch in the dimensions that are determined by the wall that we discussed in the previous, and we come out with a selection, and you know exactly which area. If you don't want this strong veining, for example, we can exclude the strong veining, or we can play with the veining so you have the book matching. And you can understand that you can do that physically over here, but in order to do it over here, first of all, you need to move each slab individually. So there's a lot of time, risk of breakages. And when you're talking about materials that are so expensive, there's a lot of inventory cost just sitting on somebody's yard, which of course add to the cost. We can do all of this digitally. And that's where I'm saying that there's a lot of saving also in money and even in time, if we can plan ahead of this cut-to-size approach versus the first approach that you're used to do. This is the terrace and planters that I was telling you at the beginning. You see, this is a major planter. There's a big tree going inside, and that's how we basically did the shop drawing, starting from the architecturals. And that's how we split every single pieces, because each one of these is probably more than tons or half a ton. And again, the installer, the elevators need to put it up. So at one point, we need to create the seams. And this is all engineering that is done at the planning stage rather than at the installation stage. This is the final mock-up. And this is when the material gets approved and everything is good. And we are ready to ship it. The third scenario is sort of a hybrid between the two, and is the objection that many times I'm getting, oh, but I don't have the wall already built, and the installer is never going to be that good to do it exactly the way it's supposed to be. Well, we can always overcut the cut-to-size. Of course, it's not as efficient as the cut-to-size, but it still allow you to have some overage over here that the installer can always trim. And when I'm saying that we do the cut-to-size, I don't mean to completely cut out the installer. Sorry about the game of words. But the installer for us is a very important part, because somebody has to install. We can't just install every single project that we are doing. But we're trying to do, and actually we have a lot of partnership with existing installers that let us do the heavy lifting because of the machinery and the quantity that we have. But maybe the local fabricator only have a bridge saw or two when, over there we have, I don't know how many, but definitely we can go to speed and the flexibility and economies of scale that a fabricator doesn't have. So very quickly, because I'm running out of time, but I want to show you another case study, which is a facade wall. And you can see the complexity of these walls. Every piece of cladding is straight, but it's not parallel or perpendicular. So that's another great testament of how much complexity you can achieve with the cut to size. We do the mock-up because that's an important part of the approval process. And these are the pieces being installed. Actually, before getting installed, being produced. The curves, we use a lot of mechanical anchoring when it comes to exterior. And once everything is approved, we ship it on a container. And I figure a lot of people get a lot of scare factor. Oh, but it's in Italy. What about if the boat sinks or the container rocks? You can see that from here. They're very well secured. Boats, yes, I suppose they can sink, but I never really heard in my lifetime of one of my container being dropped in the water. And typically the damage are actually done at the loading or unloading phase. And there's a way of restoring, there's a way of fixing. This is the project being installed, and this is the project completed. Some other project just to feature that the stone is very good for interior, for exterior. A very simple tile installation with the texture and the different setting systems and the proper lighting can create a stunning effect. So I think not necessarily you need to do very complex project, but there are, again, shops and stores that we did a lot of architectural staircases that we are doing. All of that can be done virtually, basically, including these wine racks. And that pretty much wrapped up the stone part of the presentation. So I'll jump in the next product that you need on a facade, which are the windows and doors. And windows are fabricated in Verona. You can see the arena here. And the company is Piva Group. Piva is a very big division. You can see 2 plants in Italy. And we have many more across the world. We actually have 6 different production plants. One of these is in the US. You can see it here in Missouri. It's a $200 million in 2022 sales volume. So more than 1,000 employees to date. And we have capacity productions. So this is I don't know how to describe it, but basically a categorization of our productions. Even here, even when it comes to window, we pretty much customize the window for what you need, and you will see some example. But we need to put it into some perspective, and we divide it into tilt and turn, awning, casement, door and panel door, whether sliding or panel, curtain wall, and storefront. Those are the typical things that we are doing. And you can see that we are doing in blue are the aluminum and in yellow are the PVC. Each one has a different product name, which differentiate one from the other, and I'll have a little bit more details as we go into the presentations. But here is to showing you one of the projects that we did in the United States, which is a multifamily, so the typical project, large size project too, in this case. And definitely we have the capacity and the price budgets to do it, as well as tilt and turn. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the term, but this is the typical system of using window in the United States, in Europe. Typically, we don't have the single hang or diagonal hang because, you know, the guillotine in France. So we don't want things coming down when you're facing out in your window. So we typically open, and I think it's called a French opening or French door. But you can open it like in this case, which is tilting, or you can open in just flicking this handle the other way, and it will turn. So we'll give you access also to cleaning, and we can also put security if you opens too much, if you are in too high, and many other solutions. The hinges are visible over that window, but we can also have the invisible hinges. This is another detail that I want to highlight. Shapes, you can see here is a primary school, so definitely not a very, you know, high budget project, and we can achieve some interesting design with PVC, which has great thermal performance. On a higher end and still large production is a combination. This is a nice building in construction nowadays, very close to the Milan Duomo, where we combine aluminum and PVC, so that we use the best performance and technical characteristics where it's needed, and saving with the PVC when you don't need those kind of performance. Here I have a case history of a nice residential project made in the California, Redwood City. And the project requirement, they wanted irregular shapes, they want very slim sizes, full glass corner, and they want sliding screens for sliding doors and the window being open and without, you know, when the window is closed, seeing the screens, which is another thing I will never get adjusted here. When I have my window closed and I have the screen in front of that, and I can't really see the nature and the wildlife that goes in front of my windows. So how did we achieve that? Using this product that are just symbols, so I don't want to spend too much time, but CW50 stands for curtain walls. 50 is the millimeter profile that is visible. And Venezia is just one of the windows that we're using. How do we do? Same thing that we saw it in the stone section. We discuss everything, and if everything is approved, we have the budget, we sign the contract, we work on your drawings, and we created the submit and the shop drawings. The shop drawings, you know, go back and forth a few times because there's something that you want to adjust and change. And once they are approved, they've been sent into production, and eventually, you know, we create the packing list, and we create the shipping document and crates. This is an example of our shop drawing. So every window has a specific details of what it is and how it's made and what kind of insulation and so forth. And this is the way you're getting shipped, with all this document, with the window schedules, and explaining you where is one window and the others. Everything is packed. I didn't show it too much into the stone, but the same thing we were doing here, we're doing to the stone, so there are no scratching or damages, and every piece is actually labeled so that you recognize where that belongs and where does that go. So going into the details, this is a facade, and this is the curtain wall. So we're 50, we are meaning that this height, which is basically this visible part that is blocking the view. Everything else is just glass. And here is how we achieve from the drawings to the actual installation. I'm gonna go a little bit fast because I understand we're running out of time, and there's a lot of things that at the end are looking like very similar. So it's more just to give you an idea of what we are doing here. Garage and door is another major part. So I put a little, not only the pocket door that you see here, but even the garage door. We have a lot of security in place, and even invisible hinges that we can provide you, and that according depending on the specification. The garage door can match the entryway, and as you can see here, we have a nice feature where is a single leaf, and we can even have a pedestrian door inside the garage door. So those are little detail that add a little bit to the overall cost, but really not breaking the budget and at the same time creating a final solution that is desirable. Again, sliding door, those are the very slim window that we made, that were requested in these jobs. Storefront is another very important details that we are doing. And for us, the storefront are provided complete. So we normally provide everything assembly unless the window, the glass is too big that cannot be installed. So it's basically like assembling one window next to the other. So making very fast for the installer at the job site. Invisible glass railings. This is again sort of a guillotine installation, and this even if you need a handrail for safety or security that you can put on that, and this can hold up to 200 kilo per linear meter. So if my conversion is correct, 150 pound per linear foot. This is a great example of the Venezia line that has been used. And as you can see here, there's a lot of thermal barrier that we separating from the interior and the exterior. And it shows you the technical performance that we can achieve in this project. This was another interesting details. You can see there's no metal profile. This is just the black line, is just the two miter glass meeting each other's without any profile. And patio doors, either pocket or sliding. Last but not least, colors. We can do all sorts of colors. These are the main color that we have readily available. But if you have a right color that you just send us the name, we can quote that too. There are special color like brushed corten gold or even wood, and they are very realistic. Until you get there, you won't see one from the others. I think I like to leave. I want to mention we also can do different color interior and exterior, because in many situations you have that you want the interior to match, I don't know, maybe in white, and the exterior have a wood effect because that's the look you want to achieve on the building. So we're pretty much wrapped up. We are going back to the tilt and turn situation, and I think I want to leave some room for Q&A if we need that. Otherwise, I will be happy to go into more detail of the different family of product. But pretty much that's what it is for me, and I hope you enjoyed. Kyle, I don't know if you want me to go deeper into that, or there are some questions that I need to answer.
Yeah, I actually have a couple questions that came through on my end. So I can go through those, and if there's still some time at the end to jump into anything else, we can do that. So everyone, if you do have any questions, now's the time, so feel free to go ahead and drop those in the Q&A. I'm going to read off a couple of ones that came through. All right, so for custom projects, what's your typical lead time from initial specification to delivery? And how do you handle potential supply chain delays from European manufacturers?
Okay. This, of course, it depends on the complexity of the product and the complexity. It's such a generic question that is very difficult to answer. But in ballpark, we typically have about 1 to 2 months production, and this I always say 1 month of shipping, because the vessel from the port to the port is only 10 days, but you always need about a week to clear custom in Europe, a week to clear custom here, some paperwork. So in 3 months, I'm pretty confident that we can achieve or get you started, because of course, one thing if you're asking me, I don't know, 1 container quantity, one thing if you're asking me to produce 30 or 40 container quantity. But the main things is how do we time this? Like I said at the beginning, we like to start this conversation when you are at the construction drawing. Maybe when you're bidding, depending on the scale of the project and the complexity of this. But there's always a lot of time. And actually, I notice in all the project, a lot of time is wasted in trying to kind of go around and find the value engineering and cheaper version, which, yes, I understand you need to do that. But if you really stick to what you should be doing, I don't see any reason why, we are quoting you the number that you're expecting to get, and we try to give you a fair quote. And I'm pretty confident that this system is actually so much more efficient for many different details that I don't have the time to explain it over here. But you saw it that we are using material only as we needed. For example, if I'm shipping this slab, instead of cutting, when I cut with the nesting, I'm selling you the square footage that you actually really need. When you are going to the fabricator here, well, the fabricator is forced to buy multiple slabs, and he doesn't even know how much wastage he's going to get. So there's a lot of synergy going there. What I noticed, just to finish the answer, is most of the production time is actually eaten up by the back and forth, and I don't know, the agreement in the adjustment from the shop drawing to the approval. If you keep on asking me to change a few things or misunderstanding for one reason or another, what can be done in 1 or 2 weeks, it can extend into months. But that's where you normally understand, and you can timing, for what you need. So I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Got one more that I'm going to go through, and if there's still time at the end, we can dig in deeper on any other items. All right, so do you have any ventilated facade systems that can accommodate both porcelain panels and natural stone on the same substructure? And what is the maximum panel size available?
Yes, this is a little bit tricky because normally is the system that kind of dictate, and it's not that easy to combine the two, but yes, we have the knowledge to work with them. You understand that ceramic and stone has different characteristics, have different thickness, have different material, have different way of cutting. So a system that works well in stone not necessarily works well in the ceramic side. But this is what I meant, is the engineering. This is the phase where we discuss and we help you and identify what is the solution. And sometimes we raise our hand. It's like, no, we are not good for, it's not for us. We don't want to get involved into that. But it's always better to have this answer at the very beginning than down the road when it's probably sometimes too late. But we always work with Fisher, with Kyle, we pretty much have connection with all the different main manufacturer. And there's a rabbit hole here because there are so many parts involved that we can't really have one answer to all the possible scenario.
Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's all I've got for now. If there's anything else anyone wants to drop in the Q&A, you're welcome to. Or is there anything else you wanted to dig in deeper on?
I think I'm good for that. I've kind of run out of my idea.
Yeah, well, that was great. Thank you so much for a really great presentation. We really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyla.
Thank you.
Bye,
Everyone
everybody.
have a great day. Bye-bye.